Hello, and welcome to today's live video, Empathy, how it changed me as a person and a parent. Parents and caregivers, do you practice empathy in your family relationships? Do you know the power of empathy when practiced intentionally? Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about how empathy has changed me as a person, my parenting, and my son's life. Give me the next, 8 minutes or so to share my story with empathy. And you may walk away with some new insight. If you'd like to see my video on empathy and my parenting method called Cubed that gets into how my clients and I focus on connection and use empathy to create bonds and foster trust, all to build happily integrated families, comment #empathy in the comments below, and I will get you that link. My name, for those of you who aren't already familiar with me, is Matt Kenyon, and I am a family relationship coach and the owner of Free Thought Coaching, where I help parents end the conflict, build happily integrated families, and foster trust. My promise is that there is always at least one strategy or piece of advice that you parents and caregivers can use immediately after watching my videos. So let's get into it. So first off, empathy is not something I was raised with. Don't get me wrong. My parents loved us and they showed us love. But unfortunately, they were not raised with empathy. They were never taught empathy. They weren't taught that it was something that parents needed to do for their kids. And so, by extension, I and probably most of you in my generation were not taught empathy. Instead, we learned how to sympathize, we learned how to kindness maybe, or how to be a nice person. But I found myself caught up in how I felt and what I wanted, and little insight into other people and their thoughts and feelings and how they experienced the world. I mean, being a nice person and having sympathy was great compensation for not having empathy. It's great to be a nice person and have sympathy for others. It's great to be that kind of person, to be nice and know how to sympathize with others. And I enjoyed helping other people. That was a key part of who I identified with. But that is not empathy. It's just niceness or kindness. And it worked okay. I mean, my life was moving along. I wasn't overly happy, but I wasn't sad and depressed, for most of it anyway. And then I became a parent. My husband and I adopted our nephew, my brother's oldest son. Now, to give you a little background there, my nephew came to us with multiple adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. If you've watched some of my other videos, you've probably come across that term. ACEs are adverse childhood experiences, or we also call them trauma with a little t, or they can build up to become complex trauma. For example, at the time that he came to us, he had, frankly, almost no contact with his mom, minimal, if any, contact with his dad. As a young child living with his mom, he had experienced neglect and possibly abuse that we just aren't aware of. He experienced incarceration of both of his parents at different times. Both of his parents struggle with drug addiction. He lived in multiple homes. From the age of 5, he moved from grandmother to grandmother until he finally ended up in our home at the age of 10. Thus, rightfully so, he has abandonment issues. All of these ACEs, these things that I've listed, all came together in this child, and he struggled, and we had no idea that he was struggling or how bad. Instead, I continued to focus on what I felt was best and what I wanted for him. I never asked his thoughts or opinions. I assumed that I already knew his experience. I mean, I was his uncle. I had been around his life the entire time. I thought I knew. I also thought I knew what was best for him. And he just, didn't know. And he just needed to listen to me, and his life would go great. There was no acknowledgement of his wants, desires, or thoughts and feelings. No understanding of his experience. Everything that I was doing was based on assumptions. I skipped the part about connecting and understanding. And so the result, as you all may have guessed, was conflict. There was conflict over homework almost constantly. I mean, I felt like my relationship with him had devolved into this. He comes home from school, we spend 5 minutes saying hi where he's being evasive, and then we end up fighting about homework the rest of the evening. And at some point, we took a break for dinner. I mean, that was kind of our daily routine. It got draining, and I couldn't understand how to get out of it. There were outbursts that he had that we couldn't explain and didn't know how to deal with because we weren't taking the time to understand what was going on for him, to empathize with him. We now, as we look back now with trauma-informed eyes and the ability to, or trauma-informed lenses, and our knowledge now, we realize that a lot of those outbursts that we thought were just bad behavior and defiance are actually panic attacks. I mean, grasp that for a second. We thought these were horrible behavior events, but now we look back and we realize they were panic attacks, but he had no way to tell us that. We weren't asking. We were not listening. Just like he was not listening. There was defiance that occurred. And as he got older, and when I say older, I mean 11 or 12, we ended up doing drugs, drinking alcohol, lying, skipping school for days at a time. There was one time he actually took his phone and hid it in the grass near the school so he could go spend the entire day running around town, thinking no one would know the difference because his phone was at school. He wanted to spend every waking moment outside the house, and when he did come here, he was withdrawn, he was distant, and he wanted nothing to do with us. He was just frankly withdrawn from us at home. Then I learned about empathy. I started reading and I started absorbing as much knowledge as I could on parenting. And one of those biggest lessons I learned was about empathy. I started reading about parenting styles. I started learning about adverse childhood experiences and how they affected attachment and caused issues for child, and how we as parents needed to utilize empathy so they felt understood and heard and listened to. I learned about the power of empathy. But then came the hard part. I had to start practicing it, which frankly was scary, because it required a level of vulnerability that I had never experienced before. I had to teach myself to stop thinking about myself and my desires. I had to tell myself it was okay that I might get this empathy thing wrong once in a while, that I may not be good at it at first. And that was okay because I was already doing it wrong. I couldn't get any worse. All I could do is improve the situation for my son, myself, and my family. So I started using it. It was like a whole new day. All of a sudden, my son and I started having productive conversations. He would actually engage me in conversations and listen to what I had to say, and would answer questions when I asked back. We started bonding and forming a connection that had never been there before. He started wanting to spend time with us. There was less withdrawal, and more quality time was requested by him. And I found that when I went to him and said, "Hey, do you want to go help me cook dinner?" it quickly became that more often than not, he said yes. He showed more openness to us being interested and involved in his life. It's not perfect. There are still things that he doesn't like to share. But we're working on it. And empathy has changed a lot of it. It has reduced the conflict that we see in our home, in our family. And it's helped him ultimately make better decisions. The daily drug use has gone away. He's stopped drinking with his friends. He doesn't want to go get drunk anymore. In fact, he admitted to me the last time he got drunk, he was trying to drink away the negative feelings and thoughts. Through empathy, I was able to help him find other ways of dealing with those negative feelings and thoughts. And the drinking stopped. He became more aware of his behavior and how it affected other people, and he started empathizing with the people in his world because I was modeling that behavior. He became willing to discuss the long term consequences of some of the behavior that he still had and things that he had done in the past. Started being open with telling me how I could better parent him because he wasn't scared anymore. Because I showed him that I would empathize with his situation instead of arguing it. Now, he's intentional about making friends and spending time with people who want to spend time with him, not the people who were just providing him with an outlet for drugs and alcohol. We're all different. He has changed a lot, and frankly, I cannot tell you how much it has made me a better person. In fact, it's the only reason that I'm able to do what I do. In fact, it's the driving force behind why I do what I do. Because I see so much pain between children and parents in this world, and I empathize with that, and it drives me forward every day. It has also improved all my other relationships, my spouse, my sisters, my mom, my brother. And if my dad was here, I'm sure it would have affected that relationship too. Give it a try. Spend some time this week being intentional about using empathy in all your relationships, but especially with your kids. Let go of yourself and your emotions to focus on others and their thoughts and feelings and experiences. We want to know, how did they experience that same event that we experienced, so that we can better understand them and who they are and how we can help them to grow into the successful adults we know they can be. So try it for a week. See what happens in your home. Of course, this is a truncated version of my history. There is so much more to tell. But I hope just this nutshell version, this short little abridged version, has helped you see how important empathy is to having a successful family relationship and relationships with your kids, especially as they get older and have more of their own thoughts, feelings, and frankly, freedoms to do what they want. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or need more personal advice and help. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. Be the empathy someone needs in their life today. And as always, happy parenting. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this video has been useful to you. I would love it if you could leave a comment with something in this video that resonated with you or helped you and your family out on your journey. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can get notified when I release new content. It massages the algorithm and helps get these videos out to other parents that need them. I really do appreciate your love and support. If you would like to join my Facebook community, Connected Parenting, where I have other videos, group of parents who are struggling with the same issues you are, there is a link down in the description. Have a great day. Try to be the parent your kids need today. Happy parenting.